They said I'd never amount to anything after what happened, that I'd disappear, quietly, like a stain on their perfect white lies. But what they didn't know was that I don't vanish, I wait. And when the time is right, I return. Not to beg, not to explain, but to end it. I never planned to destroy anyone. I just wanted peace. A life away from the cruelty, the manipulation, the betrayal. But when peace is refused long enough, revenge becomes mercy. And I was done being merciful. The first time I met them, I was 16. Shy, desperate to belong, stupidly believing that friendship and loyalty meant something. I couldn't have known I was walking into a snake pit with a smile on my face. I didn't see the warning signs, the fake compliments, the competitive digs, the way they'd laugh just a little too long when I made a mistake. That's how it begins, you know. Not with knives. With whispers. And no one whispered louder than Elise. She was the kind of girl who could charm a priest into lying. Blonde, bold, beautiful. The sort of beauty that walked into a room and rewrote gravity. And I, in my ripped jeans and shy glances, was just happy to orbit her. I thought she saw something in me. I thought she was my friend. Until she wasn't. It started with the rumors, about me, about my family, about a teacher I confided in. Things I never told anyone. Things only Elise knew. I tried to ignore it at first, thinking maybe it was just high school noise. But when my favorite teacher got fired, when I lost my scholarship, when even my mom started looking at me like she didn't recognize me, I knew. Elise had turned the world against me. And the worst part? She never flinched, never looked guilty. She smiled through it like it was a game. So I left. I moved across the country with what little pride I had left. I worked jobs that broke my back and bruised my soul. I kept my head down. I let time pass. I let them forget me. But I didn't forget. I couldn't, especially not after I found out what they did to my sister. Lena had always been stronger than me. Outspoken, fearless, everything I wasn't. When she started dating Matt, I warned her. He was one of Elise's favorites. Smooth, arrogant, and dangerous in that way only rich boys can be. But Lena thought she could handle him. She was wrong. He cheated. He manipulated. He humiliated her. And when she confronted him, he made sure she paid for it. Elise helped, of course. She always did love a show. They recorded Lena breaking down and leaked it to everyone. They laughed while my sister was being torn apart online. She tried to end her life twice. She's still healing. Still on medication. Still scared to go outside. That was the moment I decided. Not to heal. Not to forgive. But to plan. It took 3 years. 3 years of rebuilding myself from the inside out. I changed my name, my look, my voice. I learned their weaknesses, watched their careers, found the cracks in their perfect little lives. I made friends with their enemies. I dated one of their brothers. I became someone they would never suspect. And now I'm back. The city is the same, but I'm not. I've rented the penthouse across from Elise's new art studio. Matt runs a PR firm now, specializing in reputation management. The irony would be funny if it weren't so vile. And Elise? She's about to get married. The wedding of the decade, according to every local magazine. Invitations went out last week. I got mine personally. She didn't recognize me, of course. I was just another face in the glamorous blur of her social life. But she will. She'll recognize me when the video starts playing. When the lights dim at her rehearsal dinner and the giant screen lowers from the ceiling. When her parents, her fiancé, her friends, and everyone she ever wanted to impress sees exactly who she is. What she did. To me. To Lena. To everyone she stepped on just to shine. You see, revenge isn't about rage. Not real revenge. Real revenge is cold, calculated, patient. It waits until the target has everything to lose. And then it strikes. Everyone told me I was overreacting. That I was too emotional. That I needed to let it go. But none of them had seen what I had seen. None of them had stood in my shoes the night I found out the 2 people I trusted most had been plotting behind my back for years. I wasn't crazy. I was calm. Very calm. And that's the scariest kind of woman you can ever cross. The one who doesn't scream, doesn't cry, but smiles while setting your world on fire. My name is Emily Cole, and this is not a story of heartbreak. This is a story of retribution. The kind that creeps in slowly, like smoke under a locked door, until you're choking and gasping and begging to be saved, but no one hears you. Because by then, it's already too late. I used to believe in love like it was gospel. The kind of belief you don't question. You feel it in your bones. When I met Jordan, I thought I had finally found the kind of love that novels are written about. He was charming, ambitious, confident, the kind of man who knew how to make every woman in the room feel invisible except for you. He looked at me like I was the sun, and for a while, I believed I was glowing. And then there was my best friend, Riley. She was everything I wasn't: wild, spontaneous, magnetic. We met in college and clicked instantly. She was the kind of girl who could make your worst night feel like a great memory. I loved her like a sister. I told her everything. I shared secrets with her that I hadn't even spoken out loud to myself. For 5 years, we were a trio. The Golden Three. Riley and I used to joke that we were each other's soulmates, and Jordan was just lucky to be allowed into our world. We laughed, we cried, we built a life together. Until the night I walked into my own birthday party and caught them kissing behind my apartment building, thinking no one was watching. They didn't even have the decency to flinch when I saw them. Jordan pulled away, slowly, like he was annoyed at being interrupted. Riley just blinked at me, expressionless. That's the moment I realized this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't heat of the moment. This was routine. And I had been the blind one. The fool. The placeholder. The next morning, they tried to explain. Jordan said he had been confused. Riley said it meant nothing. Both begged me not to overreact, to let us all talk about it like adults. And I nodded. I smiled. I even hugged them. Because I knew in that moment, forgiveness would be the mask. But revenge? Revenge would be the masterpiece. I moved out of the apartment that night without saying a word. I cut off contact, deactivated all my social accounts, and disappeared from the city. My family thought I was grieving. My coworkers thought I needed space. But what I was really doing was watching, planning, and building something they'd never see coming. For 2 years, I built a new life in silence. I moved to Chicago, changed careers, and learned everything I could about image management, PR, and digital media. I worked for a firm that handled high-profile crisis control, and I became very, very good at knowing how quickly a reputation can be built and destroyed. I never forgot them. In fact, I kept a file on my laptop titled The Fire List. Every detail of their lives went into it. Jordan had started a startup, a fintech app trying to break into ethical investing. Riley had become a wellness influencer. Together, they were launching a joint brand. Perfect, public, vulnerable. They thought I had vanished, but I had only gone underground. And when the day came to resurface, I did so with the elegance of a shadow and the precision of a surgeon. I created a fake consulting identity, Clara Vaughn, with a sleek portfolio and glowing fake references. I messaged Riley first. She was thrilled. Clara, I claimed, was building a docu-series about women entrepreneurs. I pitched her the idea of featuring her and her fiancé Jordan, their story of betrayal, forgiveness, and love that conquered all. Riley, ever the attention addict, jumped at the chance to be on camera. She even offered to bring Jordan in for some of the segments. They had no idea they were being recorded, not for a documentary, but for destruction. The interviews were easy. I asked them to talk about how they met, how they overcame the backlash of my dramatic reaction, and how they built their brand. I asked about trust, loyalty, and the importance of honesty. I let them dig their own graves. Every lie, every smug smile, every dismissive laugh about the girl who couldn't handle the truth. What they didn't know was that I had secretly obtained every message Jordan had ever sent me while he was cheating. The ones where he mocked Riley. The ones where he promised me she meant nothing. I had copies of screenshots, audio from calls, even video from that night at the party. And then came the engagement party. They threw it at a massive rooftop venue in New York. Champagne fountains, a hired string quartet, media influencers everywhere. It was meant to be the birth of their brand as a couple. They even invited me. Out of guilt, arrogance. I never asked. I only RSVP'd with a +1 and brought a small team of videographers disguised as event staff. At exactly 8:47 p.m., after the toasts and before the press photos, the lights dimmed. A video began to play on the giant LED screen at the center of the room. It started with a slow montage of their Instagram reels, laughter and hugs and posed kisses. Then silence. Then my voice. You said I was overreacting, that I couldn't handle the truth, that I wasn't strong enough to move on. But I didn't move on. I moved above. And then came the footage. Raw. Undeniable. Jordan kissing me weeks after he got engaged to Riley. Riley mocking Jordan. In voice notes she sent to another friend. private texts where they each talked about how they were only staying together for the money, the publicity, the exposure. The room fell silent. Some gasped. One woman dropped her wine glass. And as the final message played, Jordan's voice sang, "Emily doesn't matter. She never did." The screen went black. I stood at the edge of the crowd, wearing a black velvet dress, smiling. And when the lights came back on, I walked out without looking back. I wasn't angry anymore. I was victorious. They thought I'd stay quiet, that I'd smile, clap politely, and vanish into the background like a good little ex. But what they forgot is, I don't forget. And I certainly don't forgive. So when my ex-fiancé and my best friend invited me to their engagement party, they didn't know they were sending a formal invitation to their own public execution. It didn't start with fire. It started with silence. The kind that burns slower than flame and carves deeper than knives. I had spent 3 months planning every detail, every whisper, every shadow of my comeback. They thought they'd humiliated me when they blindsided me with betrayal, but I turned that pain into precision. And by the time they saw the screen flicker on behind them, with the crowd watching, mouths open, it was already too late. But let me take you back. Because revenge isn't born in a single night. It brews like storm clouds behind a calm sky. And this storm started the day I caught them together. I had returned home from a 2-day work retreat, exhausted but excited. I'd gotten the account I was fighting for and wanted to celebrate with the 2 people I trusted most, my fiancé, Ryan, and my best friend since childhood, Lily. I brought wine. I even brought takeout from their favorite place. And as I walked into my apartment, I heard laughter. Not just any laughter, the kind of laughter that didn't belong to a casual conversation. It was intimate, breathy, laced with familiarity and desire. I stopped. Something about it prickled my skin. I stepped quietly down the hallway, and there they were, half-dressed, kissing, on my couch. I froze. They didn't even see me. They were too wrapped up in each other, too bold, too shameless. I left quietly, like a ghost in my own life, and sat in my car for what felt like an hour. No crying, no screaming, just stillness. Something inside me calcified that night. I wasn't going to let them have the last word. I didn't confront them. I waited. I watched. I smiled when I saw them post pictures together online, painting themselves as a brave couple who found love in an unexpected place. I smiled wider when I accepted the invitation to their engagement party. It arrived 3 weeks after they went public. I was the bigger person, they said. They wanted no bad blood. Sure, I RSVP'd yes the same day. I was going to show up, but not as a guest. While they planned their party, I planned my stage. I dug. I collected receipts. I hired a tech-savvy college kid named Xavier from Craigslist who specialized in recovering deleted files. With a little incentive and an external drive, he found everything I needed. Screenshots, voice notes, emails, a full timeline of when the affair started. I pieced together how long they had been lying to me, nearly a year. While I was planning wedding colors and looking at houses, they were plotting in the shadows. And now, I was doing the same. Xavier helped me with the tech setup. I rented a hidden projector and screen, programmed it to connect via remote from my phone, and mapped out the timing. I'd go in, smile, congratulate them, and wait until the perfect moment, right when the champagne glasses were raised. And then, the room would go dark, and the truth would shine in HD. The night of the engagement, I wore red. Not just red, scarlet. Bold, defiant, unforgettable. It was fitted, floor-length, with an open back and high slit. I walked in like I owned the room. Because, for the next hour, I did. Lily froze when she saw me. Her eyes flicked to Ryan, who paled like a man seeing a ghost. I smiled, tilted my head, blew them both a kiss. The evening went on. Speeches were made. Laughter filled the air. People clinked glasses and took selfies. I was the picture of grace, chatting with guests, complimenting Lily's dress. And when the final toast began, the lights dimmed for the couple's video montage. That was my cue. I stepped away to the corner, opened my phone, and hit play. The screen behind them flickered. At first, people thought it was part of the show. The opening frame showed a text thread, Ryan's messages to me, timestamped just days before he proposed to Lily, telling me he wasn't ready to lose me. The crowd murmured. A woman gasped. The next frame was a photo, Lily in my bedroom. From a hidden camera, I had installed months earlier when I suspected someone had been entering my apartment while I was gone. Then came the recordings. Their voices. Their laughter. Lily calling me, too sweet to ever notice. Ryan saying he'd marry me, just for her to back off. And then, the final nail. A compilation of videos, texts, and audio, revealing how they schemed to gaslight me out of my own relationship. How they laughed about how I'd never see it coming. I watched the room turn to ice. Guests turned away in disgust. A bridesmaid left in tears. Ryan stood frozen, jaw clenched, eyes wild. Lily collapsed into a chair, pale as bone. And me? I took a sip of champagne, walked to the front, and said, "To the happy couple, may your lies keep you warm at night." Then I turned around and walked out. My heels echoed in the silence behind me. No one stopped me. No one needed to. Outside, the night air was cool, clean. I inhaled deeply, feeling like I could finally breathe again. My silence had spoken louder than any scream ever could. But this wasn't the end of my story. Because viral videos travel fast. And revenge, that travels faster. The next morning, I woke up to chaos. My phone was buzzing nonstop. Texts, emails, missed calls, Instagram tags. Overnight, someone had recorded the entire engagement party scene and uploaded it. The video had gone viral. 7.2 million views in 9 hours. Comments were flooded with praise, disbelief, sympathy, and outrage. This is what real revenge looks like. She's a legend. I want to be her when I grow up. The audacity of that man and her best friend? She walked out like a queen. By noon, I was on TikTok compilations, Twitter threads, and even reaction channels. People were editing dramatic music behind my entrance, slow-motioning my red dress sweep, adding captions like, "When karma finally pays off." It should have felt overwhelming. But instead, it felt like breathing after being underwater for too long. I didn't check Ryan or Lily's profiles. I didn't need to. But I knew what I'd find. Comment sections in flames, followers dropping, people tagging them with popcorn emojis and snake gifs. I didn't revel in it, but I didn't feel guilty either. They handed me this script. I just performed it. And yet, I thought it was over. But when a story goes viral, it takes a life of its own. By that weekend, I had 3 podcast interview requests. One of them came from a show called Modern Karma, a women-hosted viral storytelling podcast where people shared betrayal and comeback stories. I ignored the first few messages. But when their producer reached out with a voicemail that said, "The world is rooting for you. You don't owe us anything. But if you ever want your voice heard, really heard, we're here." I agreed. They recorded the interview via Zoom. It was casual at first. They asked me to walk them through how I discovered the betrayal, how I stayed calm, how I planned the takedown. I kept it classy. No slurs, no rage, just facts. The host said at one point, "You've become a symbol, not just of revenge, but of power. Of what it looks like when a woman doesn't beg, doesn't cry, doesn't scream, just rises." I didn't expect it to mean so much. But it did. Because after years of shrinking myself to be likable, to keep the peace, to seem mature, I finally felt seen. That episode went live on a Monday. By Wednesday, I got a DM from Eve Santiago. If you're not familiar with Eve, she's one of the biggest female entrepreneurs and empowerment influencers in the US. 30 million followers, a TED Talk with 100 M views, founder of Her Rise Media. She had reposted the engagement party video with a caption, This is grace. This is composure. This is silent fire." And now she was reaching out to me personally. Her message was short. "We need to talk. I think you have a bigger purpose. Let's meet." I'll be honest, I thought it was fake at first. But 2 video calls later, she flew me to LA. I had nothing to lose, so I went. Her office overlooked the city skyline. She met me in person, no assistants, no fluff, just her in jeans, a blazer, and sneakers. She offered me tea, then leaned forward across the table and said, "You've already built the fire. Now let's turn it into something that lights up the world." I didn't understand at first, but Eve wasn't thinking small. She was thinking global. A platform, a brand, a message. Not just a girl who exposed her cheating ex, but a voice for every woman who's ever been lied to, betrayed, pushed aside, and told to shut up. She wanted to partner with me, build a series, a video project where real women share their real comeback stories that we called it Her Turn. I hosted the first 5 episodes. I interviewed women who'd been ghosted before weddings, betrayed by sisters, even thrown under the bus by business partners. Each story was raw, powerful, painful, and beautiful, and the viewership? Unbelievable. The very thing that had once shattered me became the reason I was finally whole. But of course, Ryan and Lily weren't done. Not by a long shot. They stayed quiet for 2 weeks. Then came their version of events. A pitiful, overly rehearsed YouTube video titled Our Side of the Story. They filmed it sitting side by side on a beige couch, trying to look remorseful. Ryan started with, "First, we want to say we're sorry to anyone hurt by this." Not sorry to me. Sorry to anyone. Lily chimed in, "Love is messy. Sometimes people fall in love when they least expect it." I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my coffee. They painted it as a gray area, that Ryan had been emotionally disconnected from me, and that Lily had developed feelings she couldn't ignore. The comment section didn't buy it. They were dragged for days. Memes exploded. One user wrote, "You didn't fall in love. You crawled into betrayal like it was a spa." But here's the twist. While their love story was crumbling, mine was just starting. Because somewhere in the middle of the Her Turn launch, I met someone new. His name was Noah. He wasn't loud or flashy. He didn't try to be a savior. He saw the scars and didn't flinch. We met through mutual friends during a charity event Eve hosted. He knew about the video. He didn't bring it up. He asked what books I liked, what dreams I hadn't chased yet. He looked at me like I was more than a headline. He listened. For the first time in years, I felt safe without feeling small. We took it slow. He let me have space. I told him up front, I wasn't looking to be rescued. He smiled and said, "Good. I'm just here to walk beside you, not in front." It didn't erase the past, but it reminded me that love, when real, doesn't come at the cost of your dignity. It adds to it. 6 months later, I stood on a stage in front of 5,000 women at the Her Rise Summit. I told my story, beginning to end. The betrayal, the silence, the plan, the walkout, the aftermath. And when I finished, the room didn't just applaud. They stood. That ovation wasn't for revenge. It was for rebirth. For every woman who turned her pain into power. And in that moment, I realized something I wish I'd known on that very first day, when I saw them on my couch, hands tangled, lips pressed. I thought they'd broken me. But really? They built me. One betrayal at a time. You won't believe what I did at their engagement. But before we go there, let me take you to the exact moment I decided I wasn't going to be the girl who just walks away quietly. No, I was going to be the girl they never saw coming. The girl who would make them wish they had never lied, never cheated, never underestimated me. So here's how I ended it all, with silence, a screen, and a smile. The day of their engagement came faster than I expected. Maybe because I had filled every hour leading up to it preparing, collecting evidence, building my case, and designing the final performance that would tear down their carefully curated fairy tale. Alyssa, my best friend since 3rd grade, and Jason, the man I was once planning to marry. Together, betraying me in the cruelest way possible. And now, celebrating their new beginning in front of the same people who once knew us as the perfect couple. That irony made me sick. But I wasn't showing up with anger. I was showing up with truth, and just the right amount of glitter. I rented a gown. Not just any gown. A deep emerald silk dress that fit like it was sewn onto my skin, hugging every curve and dripping elegance. I had my hair done in soft waves, makeup that screamed unbothered, and heels that could crush egos. When I walked into that venue, I wasn't a broken woman. I was a storm dressed like a miracle. The hall was huge, draped in white, gold, and crystal, full of influencers, family friends, business partners, and socialites. Cameras flashed, laughter echoed, and fake smiles fluttered like confetti. Jason stood at the far end, smug and charming, in a tux that probably cost more than my rent. Alyssa was glowing in a blush gown, sipping champagne, surrounded by compliments. No one noticed me at first, but I wasn't here to be noticed. I was here to be remembered. I walked in quietly, made my way to the back, and waited. Waited for the moment I'd carefully planned with the technician and the hotel's event team. Yes, the team they hired was actually working with me. Money talks. So do screenshots. Right before they were about to cut the cake, when the MC invited everyone's attention to the stage and the spotlight dimmed, that's when it happened. The giant LED screen behind them flickered. Everyone thought it was just a technical glitch. But then the first message appeared. Black screen. White text. Before you toast to a happily ever after, you deserve to know the truth. Gasps. Confusion. Laughter, even. Jason and Alyssa froze. The crowd looked around nervously. The screen changed again. True love doesn't come from lies. Let's rewind the story. And then, the videos started playing. Clips. Screenshots. Audio messages. All time-stamped. All undeniable. Alyssa sneaking into Jason's apartment 2 weeks before he ended things with me. Jason sending Alyssa flowers while still sleeping in my bed. Voice notes between them mocking me, mocking my dreams, my tears, my trust. The room went completely still. No one moved. No one breathed. Jason tried to speak. Alyssa turned pale. Someone dropped a glass. And I just stood at the back, sipping my water, watching the empire of deception fall like dominoes. 10 minutes. That's how long the whole reveal took. 10 minutes of brutal, silent, merciless truth. I didn't need to say a single word. My proof spoke louder than any scream ever could. The screen went black. And then I walked forward. He saw me. She saw me. Everyone saw me. I didn't say, "I told you so." I didn't slap anyone. I didn't cry. I simply smiled, a quiet, satisfied, devastating smile, and handed a handwritten note to the MC, who, bless his frozen face, read it aloud. To Jason and Alyssa, may your new life be as honest as your past. Congratulations. And with that, I turned around and walked out. No one followed me. Not even my shadow wanted to stay in that cursed room. But outside, in the warm evening air, under the stars, I exhaled. The weight left my chest. The pain turned into power. And I realized, I didn't just get revenge. I got freedom. They lost far more than I ever did. Their reputations were shattered, their guests humiliated, their families devastated. But me? I walked away untouchable. A week later, the video leaked. Of course it did. Someone always records. It went viral. Over 10 million views. I was trending on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram. People called me the silent savage, the queen of calm revenge, the girl who took down 2 snakes with 1 screen. Strangers applauded me. Brands emailed me. Even journalists tried to get the exclusive story. But I stayed quiet. Because this wasn't about fame. It wasn't about a comeback. It was about closure. On my terms. And I finally had it. You see, revenge doesn't always need to be loud. Sometimes, it just needs to be smart. Precise. Cold. And silent. I didn't raise my voice. I raised the truth. And it echoed louder than anything else ever could. So if you've ever been betrayed, if someone ever broke you and expected you to stay broken, remember this. You don't have to destroy them to win. You just have to walk away so complete, so healed, so unshaken, that their memory can't touch you. And if the time comes, and you do decide to show the world who they really are, do it with grace, with receipts, and with a smile. Because sometimes, the softest revenge is the one that roars without a word.